So what we're going to be doing here is, oh, I guess it gave you like 6 seconds of me tidying up. Whatever. What we're going to be doing today is folding my own design of the Master Sword from the Legend of Zelda games. It's not like the best version in the world, but it's I think it's a really great example to get you into box pleating on a very simple grid, to kind of get you familiarized with some of the basic techniques of box pleating, and to kind of demonstrate all of the ease of design and folding a box pleated design. So starting off with a square, and the first thing I do when I'm folding a design that I've never folded before is I just fold up the whole grid. So we're going to do that while I talk about the design. So this design is on an 8x8 grid. So 8x8 grids are really nice because all you have to do is keep folding the paper in half over and over again until you get to 8. And similarly, all of the powers of 2, 8, 16, 32, 64, so on and so forth, are really nice grid sizes to use if you can afford it, because they're just really easy. The reference folds are trivially easy to find. So here we go. We're folding in the fourths and eighths here on in this direction, and folding in fourths and then eighths in this direction, like so. So there you go. Jules, I know. You want to get out the window. Julesy. Oh my gosh. Okay, he really wants me to open the window. So we're going to go here. Fourths. Whoopsie. Fourths. Eighths. Jules. All right, one moment. You can get caught up with your grid if you're working on your grid. Jules. I know, you want the window open. All right, I have to open the window. There he is. That's my boy. All right, we're back. He's sniffing, he's snoofing. Some cool airs coming in. Excellent. All right, so apologies for the delay. You can see some of his towel there. Excellent. All right, so we're going to do fourths. We're going to do eighths there and eighths there. Excellent. All right, so now we have an 8x8 grid. This is also just another great thing if you want to do some box pleating design. You can just fold up one of these grids and then start trying stuff. You don't even have to plan, really. I mean, it's so fast. It's just a couple minutes to fold an 8x8 grid. All right, so now, if you see that we have the crease pattern up here in the corner, what we're going to do is we're going to fold all the creases. So we have the grid lines there, but we also have creases that run at 45 degrees from the grid line. And then we have some other weird diagonal creases that form little like kite shapes. So, actually, can I indicate? Yeah, so the kite shapes are kind of like running here and here and here, like in the center, inside. So we're going to ignore those kite shapes for now. Those actually are squash folds that are really easy to figure out once we have the rest of the creases in place. So what we're going to do is fold all the 45-degree angles. So the 145-degree angle up here runs the whole diagonal of the diagram. So we're going to fold that. Ta-da! Okay. And then we see that there's another diagonal who ends at one side here. And so it crosses at this 2-2 point at where there's two grids in, 2 grids in. And so what we're going to do is we're going to take that point and we're going to fold it like this. And so we can just fold this point down to the 4-4 point to get the diagonal for the 2-2 point. Okay, so now we have that set in. Great. So now let's do these little diagonals. All right. So I'm going to do this one up here to get one diagonal, and then we'll fold this one here to get the next diagonal, then this one here to get this diagonal, and then finally this one here to get this diagonal. All right, and then we're going to repeat over here. So this one here, get this diagonal, this one here to get this diagonal, and here for this diagonal, and finally this diagonal. Now, we have all of the main 45-degree angles. So we can almost actually see what's happening here with the sword. But I'm going to draw... Do I have a pencil? Lack of preparation. All right, let's do it with a marker so it'll show up really clearly on the video. Here are our 45-degree creases. Okay, and then this one all the way here. All right, excellent. Now, what we want to look for are the actual boxes in the box, or the rectangles for the box pleat, so we can figure out what our flap configuration is. So what we want to look for is centers of squares that have an X through them. And what I mean by that is, if I grab a piece of scrap paper, here we go. We're basically looking for water bomb bases that look like this, and we're looking for these centers. So in order to figure out where these centers are, let's look for some water bomb bases. Well, one of them could be here, but I'll tell you that if that one's there, then it causes a whole lot of problems for elsewhere. So it turns out one of the centers is in this top corner. So this is a water bomb base that we only have 1/4 of. And if you've done any circle packing, you'll know that the center of the circle has to be inside the rectangle, inside the paper, but not the entirety of it. And the same thing goes with squares and rectangles for box pleating. Then we have a water bomb base here, a water bomb base here, and a water bomb base here. And we also have a water bomb base here that's massive. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 in like its radius, we'll say. And then we have another one here, and another one here. So what we're expecting now is there's going to be a 6-length flap, a 2-length flap, 3 1-length flaps, and 3 1-length flaps. And the last question is, well, what's going on with these lines here? This line and this line, right? They don't really belong to any other water bomb base. And what this is it's actually a river. So if we draw the boundaries, actually, if we draw the boundaries of all of our water bomb bases, and these are these ridge creases? I think, are these? No, these are hinge creases. Yeah, these will be hinge creases. If we draw these boundaries for the water bomb bases, we see we have the corner of one massive water bomb base, the corner of another massive water bomb base, 2 halves here and 2 halves here, and then 1 corner quarter and 1 corner quarter. And then we have these, which are rivers, which means that if we drew the stick figure for this design, or the tree, we would have 1 6-length portion, 1 2-length portion, then an internal river area that's 1, and then 1 2 3 1s, 1 2 3 1s, right? So this river in here, these rivers, are giving us this internal portion of our stick figure. For those of you watching this from the Honors 300 course I'm teaching, we will go over how we actually go from stick figure to box pleat, but for now I'm showing you kind of the reverse direction. All right, so how do we fold this? So what we're going to do is I generally will fold the largest edge first in these designs, the largest axial crease first. So what I'll do is you want to decide whether or not you want where you've drawn to be on the inside or outside of the model. Or if you're dealing with colored paper or two-sided paper, you want to know which side's up. So if I fold this, if I make this outside of the grid a valley fold, what I'll get is that my crease, as we see, will go on the inside. Like, come on. So if I do this, all of this, that will make this the inside of the paper and this the outside, okay? So if you want this to be the colored side, you would do a mountain fold. Okay, and so what I did was I did sort of this little squash fold, or, this would be like a, you're just putting the pleat in from the outside in. So I'm gonna flip it over, and then I'm gonna basically repeat the same move. I'm gonna put this one pleat in, and this other pleat in, and now we see that we're forging the blade of our sword. So here we go. Excellent. We forged another length of it, then turn it over, and then fold these in. Oh, it's growing. This sword, it's magnificent. All right. So it's growing there. We'll flip this back over. Okay. And then come all the way down till we're here. Okay. So now we have a nice long blade. So this is the blade of our sword. It's 6 long, and we have it out here. So now we have the question of, well, how do we form the hilt and hand guard on the rest of the sword? So we now have the rest of these flaps. So we're gonna, and let's kind of open this up to see what we've done here. So actually, all these extra grid lines that I folded were unnecessary. We didn't really need them here. And in fact, they're just creating these horizontal creases on the blade. So if you wanted to do this with a cleaner finished product, what you would do is you would only fold, what I would do is fold this on this parallel line and then find the eighths this way. So fold it, you get your half like this, and then you get your fourth like this, and then you get your eighth and your eighth, and then you'll only get these lines here, and you won't get these others that cross the blade. Okay, sounds good. Excellent. This is already a super long video, and we've only forged the blade. So let's put it back together. Once you've done it once, it should be relatively cooperative. Okay. Now, we wanna deal with this friendo. So we're gonna repeat the same procedure out here by folding these in and these out. Like this. Come on. And as a result, you're gonna end up having to do this other diagonal fold and bring everything together. And this is where all those pre-creases helped you, or should help you, get the basic shape of your sword. Cool. Let me show you another way to do that. If we look at this, actually, we notice this is basically just a synced in point. So what you could do when you're at this step, when you just have the blade, so say you're still stuck, and I just have the blade. What you can do is you can fold a water bomb base out of these other sides like this, right? Along your existing creases here. So these are the big, long 45-degree angle. You make this water bomb base, and then you can fold this down and then sink this tip in as well. Okay. So that's a nice, easy, convenient way to do that. I would, however, really start practicing doing a lot of pre-creasing of these 45-degree angles, getting the whole grid set in place, and then trying to do the sort of all-at-once collapse style folding. When you start doing more and more sophisticated box-pleated designs, there won't be like an easy flat folding sequence a lot of times. Not that even this was an easy flat folding sequence, but it just sometimes it won't be present, or it'll be super duper hard to find. Okay, so we're almost at our Master Sword base. So we need to fold these in, and these are just at this point nice little reverse folds to make these into points. Nice, cool. So now we have done everything on our crease pattern except for those weird little kite-shaped situations which are appearing like in the sword part of the blade part of the sword. What those are is one thing that you can do, and I learned this from a YouTuber who I should put a link to the video description. He mentioned it almost in passing, but I mean you already have something kind of cool looking here, but it doesn't lay flat. So what we want is we want the ability to kind of spread these layers out. So one way we can do that is we can just start spreading this out and then squash fold, and this is kind of tricky because the paper will want to like separate, is squash fold the tip here. So just holding this part in place back here, try to squash fold the tip. Uh-oh, here comes another country to be heard from. You might have to get your finger underneath and poke around before you can really get. It also helps to kind of push that to the side so you can get a nice. And then this corner doesn't quite want to. Come on. Like that. So we have a squash. And then you might want to make a nice point with this. Excellent. Cool. So now, now we're going to do this one, squash it as well. Fold that to the side. And then do this squash. Okay, and then here, this squash is kind of annoying because it's. Okay, now we can fold this back together. And so now what's really great about the squash technique and makes box pleating designs much more shapeable is now I have a what feels like a normal flap that I can do normal reverse folds and things like that with. And so when you see this shape in the crease pattern, it's just the result of folding that box pleated flap up and then performing these squash folds so that you can actually open it up to get it to lay out and flat. So that's that squash fold, and then you can also squash fold. This one's super tricky because it doesn't really like have a place to want to go. Yeah. And so this actually gives you the Master Sword base. So when I lay this out flat, I want the handguard to lay like this. So I'll put in the necessary sort of shaping / reverse. No, it's easier if I do. It's easier if I do this squash fold first. Come on. There it goes. There it goes. And sometimes you just kind of have to help it along by doing this angle bisector. And then kind of letting it, kind of massaging that squash in. Okay. Now I'm going to reverse fold up this side of the sword, or actually not even reverse fold, but just valley fold it up. And you can kind of get like a little bit, you kind of have to do this little bit of a swivel fold type situation to get it to not want to rip. That's fine. Okay, so this is a really chonkadacious Master Sword, right? So we want to thin this out. You have a number of options to thin this out. The I'm in danger version of thinning this out would be to actually put sinks in, like to crease this in and sink it. I'm not going to do that because it's a sword, it's fine. So what I'm going to do to shape this, so this is the completed base. I have all of the squash folds and things like that in. So now it's all, the shaping's up to you. And I'll show you what I do to shape this sword. Is I'm just going to fold this behind. And then get this on this fold. Put it back. Looks good. That. Push it in. And then like so. Again, this layer in here. Excellent. Okay. So I actually think it looks kind of cool to have this triangle go all the way down. However, that's not how the normal Master Sword looks. So you can sort of do a number of things. You can kind of tuck this in behind with another swivel fold or something like that. If you're a Master Sword purist, you can do this swivel fold here. So I'll just do that since I started it. But I think it's optional. You don't have to be super canonical with your Master Sword. But hey. Alright. And you may actually want to make it thinner. Go for it, you know? That's up to you. I don't care. It's your Master Sword. Alright, and then we can do a bunch of thinning folds to the hilt. So more of these swivel type folds. And then it's at this point where you can use some methyl cellulose or wet folding to fold this hilt smaller and smaller, and so that it is sufficiently thin. Wow, it's getting really crumpulacious here today. Okay, and so now we have these 3 fins. So one thing you can usually do with these 3 fins is kind of spread them out a little bit by just pulling one to the side and then pulling this other to the side and then setting that in like that. And you can choose to thin these if you'd like. You can also, if you notice that the hilt is a bit bigger than the hilt in this other folded version, you can shorten this hilt up and add, like, you can kind of put like a little crimp in. You can take the end here and put a bit of a crimp in to add like sort of a little doodad at the base of the hilt. Sort of roll it up if you'd like, and add a little like ball at the base of the hilt to add a little bit of style and panache, some pizzazzy oomph, if you will. So there's one feather. Usually this is a shaping technique you use for wings, but it works for the Master Sword hilt. And so I could shape this for another half an hour, but I'll spare you the having to sit through that. But basically, you're going to want to keep doing sort of swivel folds, thinning folds of various types, sinks, reverses, or just straight up valley folds to get the blade thinner and so on and so forth. But you can also see, thanks to the bleed through of the Sharpie, wow, why did this... I have to resist the temptation to like finesse this more. You can see that our axial creases are on the axis, and that our 45-degree angle creases, our ridge creases, are on the ridges, except where we folded the ridges under. So, and that our hinge creases are on the hinge. So that's great. So here's a bargain basement Master Sword. This might be like the Master Light Sword or Diet Master Sword or whatever you'd like to say it. You could thin the blade some more. You could add some more. You can make the handle of the sword look like it has a grip. However you like, but it's a nice little design for an 8x8 grid box pleat. So, yeah. It's time to go. The way ahead is dangerous, so take this. All right, everybody. Thanks for watching. If you have any questions, you can put them in the comments, and I'll probably get to them. And otherwise, have an excellent day.